Hi, everybody. Mr. Kelly here, and I wanted to take some time today to talk to you about one of my absolute favorite short stories that I teach in my middle school language arts class. And that story is called Man from the South by Roald Dahl, the author of such classics as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James and the Giant Peach, Matilda, the BFG, The Witches, right? And so Man from the South tells a story about a person down in Jamaica on vacation. This person is staying at a resort and meets this old man named Carlos. Now, Carlos is very interesting and very strange right from the get-go. And they begin talking, and while they're talking, another character enters the screen. Now, this character is a young man, just got out of the pool, comes over, dries himself off, and pulls out this fancy lighter and starts lighting cigarettes for the people sitting around the table. And Carlos says to the young man, "Hey, that's a really nice lighter." And the young man says to him, "It's the best lighter I've ever had. It will never miss. Every time I try to light it, it lights, and it's the perfect lighter." And Carlos says, "Well, I'm a betting man. I bet that you can't light that 10 times in a row." And the young man says, "Well, I bet you I can, sir." And he's like, and so Carlos says to him, "Okay, well, if you can light it 10 times in a row, then I will give you a brand new car." And the young man says, "That sounds great. Well, what if I don't light it 10 times in a row? What if what if I lose the bet?" And the old man says, "Well, then I'll take the little finger off of your left hand." And it's like this moment in the story that just the first I remember the first time I read it, and I almost dropped the story. I was like, wow, that just came out of nowhere, right? So that moment when you're reading it in your class, the kids are like, "Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?" Like, that's just so crazy, and they're immediately hooked. They are immediately intrigued. At least the kids that I've used this story with, without fail, the overall majority of the kids are so intrigued right away. They're like, "Oh my goodness, it's a story that feels like anything could happen," and it really does maintain that throughout the whole course of the story. So, from that, they I won't spoil too much, but they do go up to Carlos's hotel room. They put some more sort of like things on the bet as far as like how exactly it's done. There's this great scene where he's describing how Carlos ties the man hand down and then has him put one finger out, and then Carlos waits there with a chopping knife, and they have to pay the maid at the hotel to bring them all the things that they need for the bet. And this is just amazing suspense that is carried really throughout the story. All right, so reasons why this is a great story to use. I think it's a great anchor text to show kids how a good author uses suspense to keep the reader engaged throughout the entire story. Okay, there is lots of examples of dilemmas being created, of time limits, of high stakes. So much suspense is used in here that you can really have them analyze multiple passages of this story and the rising action, and really focus on how this author uses suspense. I think it would be a great way for them to see how a good author like this uses suspense, and then mimic it in their own creative writing too. If you wanted to do some suspense writing for them, maybe you're having them do a big writing piece, maybe for Halloween or something like that. All right, so also there's a really good episode of television that was adapted from this too. This story's been adapted multiple times. The best one that I've seen was from the show Alfred Hitchcock Presents. It's a black and white episode. It's right around 25 minutes long. Um, Stars Steve McQueen. It's really, really well done. So if you're somebody that wants an assignment that can maybe, like, you can have them read the story, and then you can watch the episode as a class, and then maybe have them do some compare and contrast media analysis type writing response, that would be a good opportunity there. And then also, this is a great way to show that, your students that, Dahl, even though his the where he's iconic and where his legacy really is in his children's books, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda, The Witches, James and the Giant Peach, things like that. He still has all these amazing, amazing, amazing stories, short stories that he wrote that aren't really as geared towards kids. So middle school kids kind of feel like, oh, okay, well, little kids read these kind of doll stories, but now that I'm not a little kid anymore, I can start reading some of this other stuff, right? Um, you know, I always found it really interesting that this story, Man from the South, is not really as heralded as some of his other short stories, like The Landlady and Lamb to the Slaughter. I'm going to be totally transparent with you. I think The Landlady is horribly overrated, and that I think is from my experience that is taught very much um, in the middle school setting. Lamb from the Slaughter is wonderful too, and that's another one that I think is definitely more iconic than Man from the South. But really, I think Man from the South is just as good, if not better, than Lamb to the Slaughter. So yeah, so those are sort of my ideas about how you could use Man from the South in your classroom. And if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and post it in the comments below, and let's maybe throw some more ideas for some educators who want to use Man from the South by Roald Dahl in their middle school or high school, really, for that matter, their secondary language arts classes. I'm Mr. Kelly. Thanks for watching my video, and have a great day.